I want to share with you this one exercise that I learned, that I have been practicing, and that is very profound. If you want the qualities of your higher self, remember, I'm speaking here now about God, the God within you, the almighty, omniscient person that you are, the energy that is your birthright, but you have lost sight of because of your coming to believe things to be true, which only take you to places called ordinary. If you want the qualities of your higher self to flow down into your lower self, you're going to have to bring your imagination into play. Now, I'll be speaking in the last part of tonight's talk about the power of the imagination. It's the greatest gift you've ever been given. And everything that exists in the physical world once started in someone's imagination, including you. If you want the qualities of your higher self to flow down into this lower self, where you can become this almighty, omniscient, omnipotent being, you're going to have to bring your imagination into play. You are down here on earth. Using your imagination, you focus on your higher self in the world above and picture him looking down at you. In other words, from that higher level, you look down and see yourself and the imperfect conditions in which you live. Keeping this thought before you, you set in motion a current, an invisible current that flows between the self that is above and the self that is below. In this way, you are restoring the vital link between you. For from down here, you are thinking that you are up there, and up there, you are conscious that you are down here, thinking of yourself up above. It's very difficult to explain this clearly, as you can see. At the same time, you divide yourself, you also unify yourself. You divide yourself into two, one above and one below. The one above, your true self, watches the one below as he meditates on that self above. And in this way, an extraordinary current is established between the two, making it possible for your superconscious to develop. You stay with your eyes closed, conscious at the same time that you are there in your room, a living, thinking being, while your all-powerful, omniscient higher self above sees his reflection and recognizes himself in you. Seeing himself, he smiles at you, perhaps even laughs a little. And you watch from below and begin to get to know him while he watches you from above. In this way, the gulf between the higher and the lower poles of your being begin to narrow until one day it disappears and they are fused into one. When this happens, your lower self no longer exists. That lower self, the ego, which is not a true reality, disappears. And all that is left is your real higher self. No more weakness, no more discouragement, no more darkness. You become omniscient, immortal, and eternal. Now, it sounds like, well, I'll just go ahead and do that, and it's all going to just work out for me. But what I'm really saying here is that it's an exercise that if you begin to practice it for about 30 minutes a day in your meditation and begin to picture this higher part of you, your origination place, the spark of God that is you, where you came from. Not just because I'm speaking from a spiritual perspective, but whoever the quantum physicists are that are watching and listening tonight, whoever they are as well, they all know that it is an invisible field of energy from which all things originate, to which all things return. That is your essence. It is your true self. And if you can just get that higher self to become 1 or 2 or 3% of who you are, you can begin to access through your intuition the kinds of things that your false self doesn't allow. Muktananda called the ego the false self because in those first 9 months of your existence, from that spark of God that you were, when everything that you needed for this physical journey was handled in there in this miraculous way that is just too profound and too mysterious for us even to begin to fathom, isn't it? It's the great mystery, isn't it? That's what the Tao teaches us. Live the mystery. Don't be afraid to wander into the unknown. Don't be afraid to know that this music that you came here to play is calling you, it's begging you. You can't fulfill somebody else's dharma. You can't do it the way your family wants you to do it. You can't do it the way they did it before. You have to go within and know that this is my calling. Abraham Maslow taught me when I was a young doctoral student, you must learn to be independent of the good opinion of other people. You must learn to detach yourself from outcome. That's what self-actualizing people do. Those are the two most important qualities. Detachment from outcome. You don't do what you do because of what you're going to make or what kind of rewards you're going to get or how people are going to like you. You do what you do because it's your passion, because you won't allow anything else to be but what you feel inside. It's what I used to call being a scurvy elephant.
You wake up before the sun, the alarm louder than your intuition. Your feet hit the floor before your spirit even stirs. You move through your day like a ghost disguised in productivity. A flurry of emails, traffic, notifications, obligations, all of it stitched together like a well-rehearsed illusion. But have you truly awakened? Or are you merely moving? There is a difference between motion and meaning, between activity and aliveness. The world will applaud your exhaustion. It will celebrate your hustle. It will reward your burnout with hollow titles and temporary applause. But deep within, your soul will whisper, this isn't why you came. You weren't born to check boxes. You weren't sent here to live in loops. You came as a divine spark, not a mechanical cog. You came to feel, to grow, to listen to the invisible melody of your own becoming, not to perform an endless dance choreographed by the expectations of others. Life isn't something to conquer. It's something to merge with. And yet, we confuse the buzz for bliss. We wear our calendars like armor. We equate urgency with importance. We say, I'm busy, as if it's a badge of worth. But busy doesn't mean present. Busy doesn't mean connected. Busy doesn't mean awake. It just means occupied, and often occupied by things that are not aligned with our soul's assignment. You could spend your whole life moving at full speed toward the wrong destination. And in the end, you'll realize that being constantly in motion never made you feel more alive. It just made you forget how to be still. Stillness is not laziness. It is the pulse of the eternal. It is the sacred space where the divine reminds you of who you are beneath all your roles. The one who watches, the one who knows, the one who doesn't need to do anything to be worthy of everything. You are not alive because you are moving. You are alive because you are aware. Alive because you are connected. Alive because you are aligned with something deeper than what the world sees. Let go of the illusion that your worth is measured in metrics. You are not a task. You are not a title. You are not your inbox. You are a sacred presence wrapped in skin and breath here for a brief moment in eternity to remember one thing, that you are already whole. And when you return to that knowing, not in theory, but in your bones, your life stops being a performance and becomes a prayer. Now take a breath. Not a shallow breath stolen between obligations, but a deep breath given to yourself as a gift. Let that breath remind you that the same force that makes flowers bloom without stress and stars burn without panic is the same force that lives within you. This moment right here is the doorway. You don't need to do more to walk through it. You just need to stop running from it. You see, aliveness is not something you chase. It's something you return to. It has always been there, under the noise, beneath the striving, like a still lake hidden beneath the fog of your to-do list. And the fog is not real. It only appears solid because you've stared at it too long. But one breath, one sacred pause can begin to part it. We have been taught to outrun ourselves, to equate ambition with purpose, to believe that busyness is a substitute for meaning. But there is no magic in checking off every box if the box of your soul remains unopened. You can have a full schedule and still feel empty. You can hit every deadline and still miss your life because Your spirit does not thrive on productivity, it thrives on presence. The quiet knowing that nothing more is needed in this moment except your awareness, not the awareness that judges or calculates or measures, but the awareness that watches with loving detachment. The awareness that simply says, I am. Have you forgotten that your being is enough? That your breath, your presence, your light, these are sacred offerings, not because they earn you something, but because they are the reflection of the divine expressing itself through you. You don't need to manufacture meaning. You are meaning. Yet how many days slip by where your eyes are open, but you are not seeing? Your ears are filled with noise, but you are not hearing? Your body is moving, but your spirit is sitting in the back seat, silent, waiting for you to notice that you've left yourself behind. We are not here to race. We are not here to impress. We are not here to dominate the clock or prove our worth through exhaustion. We are here to remember, to re-enter the sacred rhythm that does not rush. The trees do not sprint to grow. The oceans do not strive to be majestic. The moon does not worry about being seen. And yet all of these are miracles, precisely because they are simply being what they are. Why should it be different for you? You too are part of that same divine rhythm. You too are a miracle, even when you forget, even when you doubt, even when the world tells you to keep running, to keep pushing, to keep proving. But what if the most radical thing you could do is slow down? Not because you are weak, but because you are wise. Because you've realized that rushing through your life is not the same as living it. There's a pulse inside you that is older than time, a frequency that cannot be heard with the ears, but can be felt with the soul. It is the voice of the infinite saying, be still, be present, be free. And when you hear that voice, not as an idea, but as an experience, your whole life shifts. Because the moment you return to presence, you return to power. Not the kind of power that controls others, the kind of power that liberates you. Can you feel it now? That gentle truth rising beneath the noise, the subtle hum of your own aliveness reminding you that you were never meant to live in fragments, half here, half elsewhere. You were never meant to scatter your energy chasing things that do not feed your soul. You are meant to be whole. And wholeness is not achieved through more doing, it's revealed through more being. You don't become more alive by adding to your schedule. You become more alive by subtracting the distractions that numb your awareness. So take inventory, not of your tasks, but of your truth. Ask yourself, what am I busy with? And does it reflect what I value? Or have I simply inherited a script written by others, repeated by culture, accepted by default? You are not obligated to continue performing a life that exhausts your spirit. You are allowed to step off the treadmill. You are allowed to stop chasing, stop proving, stop explaining. You are allowed to live in rhythm with your soul, not in reaction to the noise. It is not selfish to reclaim your peace. It is sacred. Because every moment you live in alignment, you become a lighthouse for others still lost in the storm. And this world needs more lighthouses, not more multitaskers, not more overachievers, but more fully awake souls who choose to live deliberately, love intentionally, and breathe like each inhale is a hymn to the infinite. You are here for that kind of life. And so the illusion of busy begins to crack, not because the world around you slows down, but because something within you begins to awaken. You start to recognize that not every invitation is sacred. Not every demand is yours to fulfill. Not every calendar entry is aligned with the heartbeat of your spirit. You begin to feel it, that gentle ache for simplicity, that quiet hunger to feel alive again, not just useful. What a tragedy it is to live every day and never touch the miracle of the present, to exist inside a perfectly organized life, yet feel emotionally bankrupt, to wear the costume of success while the soul starves for authenticity. But this moment, yes, this one is your permission to stop, to pause long enough to hear the sound of your own existence again. When was the last time you watched the sky stretch across the evening without checking your phone? When was the last time you felt your own breath instead of rushing to the next obligation? When did you last walk through your own life like a guest of the divine, grateful, awake, and in awe? Aliveness is not something that can be achieved through speed. It's something that blooms in slowness, in attention, in wonder. It's not in the constant motion, it's in the sacred still point beneath the motion. That quiet place where nothing needs to be earned, nothing needs to be explained, and everything simply is. The ego will scream at you to hurry. It will tell you that stillness is wasted time, that silence is unproductive, that rest is weakness. But the soul whispers a different message, that silence is sacred space, that stillness is alignment, that presence is power. And that whisper, so easily drowned by noise, is the voice of your original self. The part of you that was never busy, the part of you that didn't need achievement to feel worthy, the part of you that laughed with your whole body and cried without apology, that part of you that knew the world was enchanted long before it taught you to be efficient. You haven't lost that part. It's just been buried beneath layers of expectation and performance. But it's still there, patient, undamaged, eternal, and it will wait as long as it takes for you to remember. To remember that being is not a pause between doing. It is the foundation of life itself. The mystics and sages have echoed this for centuries. Lao Tzu spoke of the wisdom of doing nothing and letting all things be done. Eckhart Tolle reminds us that the present moment is all we ever truly have. Even Christ retreated into stillness, not to escape life, but to embody it more fully. Why? Because the sacred cannot be rushed. The truth cannot be microwaved. The soul cannot be summoned by strategy. The soul is not a task on your list. It is the list, the unchanging essence behind every changing form. And when you return to that truth, your life begins to change without you needing to force it. You begin to make different choices. You say no to things that drain you. You release the compulsion to prove. You find joy in the little moments you once sped past, the way sunlight kisses the wall, the feeling of water on your hands, the sound of wind whispering through leaves. You begin to feel connected again, not because the world slowed down, but because you did. The miracle is not out there. It's here, in this inhale, in this heartbeat, in this still, sacred now. You don't need to climb a mountain to find enlightenment. Sometimes you just need to sit down and actually feel your own life without filters, without distractions, without rushing to the next thing. Because aliveness is not a reward for doing more. It is your natural state uncovered when you finally stop trying to become and instead allow yourself to be. And oh, what a relief it is to no longer need to perform for your own existence. To lay down the armor of busyness and stand naked in the truth of your being, to realize that you are not behind, you are not late, you are not missing anything. You are exactly where you're meant to be the moment you choose to fully be here. Let that truth land in you like rain on dry earth. Let it soften the parts of you that were taught to grind and strive and struggle. Let it baptize the weary places in you that forgot the sound of your own name spoken by the soul. You are not what you do. You are not your resume. You are not your productivity. You are a vessel of the infinite, a conduit of presence, a spark of divine consciousness temporarily wearing a human disguise. And that means your worth is not up for negotiation. Not with your boss, not with your past, not even with your own mind. Your worth is fixed not because of what you produce, but because of what you are. You are alive, and that is enough. You can fill every hour of your day and still feel empty. You can be surrounded by people and still feel unseen. You can speak 1,000 words and still feel unheard. This is the silent epidemic of the modern soul, a life so full of motion, it forgets how to feel. A life so loud, it drowns the whisper of the divine. And yet the world will call it success. It will reward your performance with applause. It will praise your exhaustion and call it dedication. It will see your absence from yourself and mistake it for achievement. But deep down, you know something sacred has gone missing, something tender, something true. You've been so busy being everything to everyone that you've become a stranger to your own presence. And maybe, just maybe, that ache you feel isn't failure. It's your soul tapping on the inside of your life saying, come home to yourself. Not the self that's been performing, the one underneath. You see, disconnection doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up in subtle ways, in the way you scroll to escape, in the way you rush through dinner, in the way you avoid silence because you're afraid of what you'll hear. And beneath all of it, there's a longing not to be busier, but to be real. Real like the wind that doesn't try to impress you, real like the ocean that doesn't care who's watching, real like the child who laughs for no reason, that kind of real. And here's the miracle, it's still within you. Buried, maybe, ignored, possibly, but gone? Never. That flame still flickers beneath your schedule, beneath your strategy, beneath your obligations. And all it takes to fan it into fire again is a single moment of honesty, a single breath of truth. Right now, just ask yourself, what would I be doing today if I was fully alive, not just functioning? What would change? What would fall away? And who would I become? Because in that question lies your liberation. Aliveness is not found in how much you do, it's found in how fully you show up in what you're doing. And when your presence is missing, even the most impressive life becomes a hollow performance. You might fool the world. You might even fool your mind. But your soul, it knows. It always knows. The soul doesn't measure in hours or accolades. It doesn't care how many tasks you completed. It wants to know, were you awake for any of it? Did you feel the moment or did you escape it? Did you inhabit your breath or just use it as fuel to chase something else? We live in a culture of doing, but you are not a machine. You are a being, a soul pulsing with eternal wisdom, temporarily wrapped in skin and story. And the most radical act of awakening you can commit is to stop running long enough to return to your being. Busyness is seductive because it masks discomfort. If we stay busy enough, we don't have to feel the ache. We don't have to sit with the silence. We don't have to face the truth that much of what we're doing isn't actually nourishing us. We call it productivity, but often it's just avoidance dressed in professionalism. And yet, the ache remains. The ache is holy. The ache is what calls you back. You don't need to fear it. It's not here to punish you. It's here to point you toward what you've forgotten, that you were not created to merely function. You were created to feel, to create, to expand, to love, to be. The soul doesn't rise in the chaos. It rises in the space you give it. So give it space. Let this be your turning point. Let this be the sacred moment where you stop asking, what more can I do? And begin asking, what have I forgotten how to feel? Because to feel fully is to live fully. And to live fully is not about filling every slot in your calendar. It's about opening every cell of your being. This is the invitation. It's always been here. Life is not waiting for you to accomplish more. Life is waiting for you to return home to yourself. The moment you choose presence over pressure, something ancient within you exhales. It's not a moment the world will likely notice, but your soul does. It celebrates, it rejoices, because you've remembered not intellectually, but experientially that life was never supposed to be a race. You've spent so much time striving to be enough, to be seen, to be relevant, and all along, the truth has sat quietly at the center of your being. You are already, all of it, already whole, already sacred, already free. But you've been conditioned to forget and to confuse movement with momentum, reaction with purpose, and speed with growth. But growth does not rush. A tree does not bloom faster by worrying. The seasons do not accelerate themselves through anxiety. The stars do not doubt their shine because they take millions of years to form. And yet here you are, rushing through a single lifetime as if missing a step would be failure. But your soul is not counting steps. It is watching for your return. And each time you pause to listen, to really listen, you step into alignment again. True success is not how much you do, but how deeply you meet the moment that you're in. When you're pouring tea, pour tea. When you're walking, walk with the grace of one who knows they're part of the miracle. When you're with someone you love, be so fully there that time disappears and only love remains. Presence doesn't require effort, it requires surrender. A letting go of needing to manage the outcome. A release of the ego's obsession with performance. A falling into the sacred rhythm of being. And this rhythm is where you came from. Long before you learned to schedule, to measure, to prove, you simply were. You looked at the world with wonder, not with strategy. You approached each moment with curiosity, not control. You woke up alive, not busy. So ask yourself now, who were you before the noise began? Before the labels and obligations and expectations stacked themselves around you like armor? Strip all of it away. And what remains is you, the eternal you. Not the version exhausted by the pursuit of validation, but the soul behind the striving. The stillness that's been waiting underneath every movement, every effort, every breath. And in that stillness, there is peace. Not the peace of escape, but the peace of reunion. The feeling of slipping back into the skin of your own sacredness. The joy of realizing that nothing outside of you can offer what has always lived within. You do not need to chase what you are. You only need to stop long enough to feel it. When you return to your center, time expands. One moment can feel eternal because it is being fully met. Life no longer rushes past you. It begins to bloom around you. And you start to live, not just exist. This is aliveness. This is what you came for. And no title, no paycheck, no accomplishment can match the richness of a life lived from the center of being. You may still go to work. You may still check emails, care for others, plan, prepare, but you will no longer do it from the place of lack. You will do it from fullness, from awareness, from a knowing that you are not your activity, you are the awareness beneath it. You are not a role. You are not a job. You are not a name on a document or a dot on a digital map. You are consciousness expressing itself through form, a moment of God wrapped in a moment of skin. And once you remember this, even the most ordinary moment becomes holy. The way you stir your coffee, the way you look out the window, the way you greet a stranger, all of it begins to glow with purpose, not because it's grand, but because you are present in it. Presence is the portal to all transformation. Nothing needs to be added to you. No more strategies. No more self-improvement tricks. Just presence. Because when you're truly here, the truth reveals itself without force. The peace you were chasing in the future lands in your lap in the now. The love you thought you had to earn begins to arise from within. And the life you thought was waiting for you finally begins. You are not running out of time. You are running away from presence. But the moment you stop, truly stop, time bows to your awareness and eternity enters. So don't just slow down, wake up, peel back the layers of effort and busyness and see what's been here all along. A sacred stillness, a quiet aliveness, a joy that does not depend on circumstance. Because aliveness is not somewhere you arrive, it's who you are when you stop pretending you're anything else. You do not need a bigger life. You need a deeper presence. For so long, we've been conditioned to stretch ourselves outward, to reach, to accumulate, to expand externally. But real expansion doesn't begin outward, it begins inward. It begins the moment you realize that the vastness you seek in the world already exists in the still point of your being. You are not here to collect experiences like trophies. You are here to allow life to pass through you, to let each moment transform you. The sunrise doesn't need to be captured to be sacred. The laughter of your child doesn't need to be shared to be eternal. The tears in your eyes during stillness don't need to be explained. They are all holy, and they are all signs that you are at last alive. This world will try to sell you aliveness. It will package it in destinations and devices and degrees. It will convince you that aliveness is something you can earn through more doing, more striving, more becoming. But nothing you add to yourself will complete you because you were never incomplete. You were simply distracted. And that distraction has cost you more than time. It has cost you presence. It has cost you the most valuable thing you possess, the ability to inhabit the now with your whole heart. Because the moment you truly inhabit the now, you remember the truth that you are already free. And this freedom is not loud. It is not dramatic. It's the quiet realization that you no longer need to keep proving that you belong. It's the moment you stop running and realize that what you were running toward was already within you. It's the moment you give yourself permission to feel your life, not just think about it, not just plan it, but feel it. Feel the weight of your own breath. Feel the stillness beneath the noise. Feel the part of you that was never afraid, never confused, never separate from the divine. That is your true self, unburdened, unhurried, unwavering. You don't have to burn out to earn rest. You don't have to collapse to deserve stillness. You don't have to reach rock bottom to rediscover what's real. You can choose now. You can say, enough. I will not trade my aliveness for approval. I will not sacrifice my soul on the altar of performance. Because the sacred has been whispering your name all along. Not in the chaos, but in the quiet. Not in the rush, but in the pause. Not in the crowd, but in your own heart. And once you hear that whisper, truly hear it, everything changes. You stop chasing. You start listening. You stop reacting. You start responding. You stop performing. You start being, and when you begin to be, your life no longer feels like a struggle to maintain, but a miracle to witness. You don't need to add anything. You just need to feel everything. Every breath, every blessing, every moment that you once rushed past. This is not a performance anymore. This is presence. This is what it means to be alive. Not just busy, not just functioning, not just checked in on paper, but wide open to the infinite current of now, awake to the miracle that you exist, that you are breathing, that you are sensing, that you are aware. And from this awareness, a new life begins, not one built from pressure, but one built from peace. You don't need to escape your life. You need to awaken within it. Because your life is not the enemy, forgetting is. The forgetting that you are not here to perform. The forgetting that you are not here to earn. The forgetting that being alive is not a future event, but a present truth waiting to be remembered. You've spent years running on momentum that wasn't rooted in meaning. And now Something within you, something ancient, something tender is asking for truth. Not more input, not more effort, just truth. And here it is. You are already enough, already sacred, already whole. You do not need to do more to be worthy of your own breath. What you need is to pause long enough to feel it, to let it fill you, not as a function, but as a miracle. Because that's what it is, every breath, a miracle, every heartbeat, a reminder that life is not demanding anything from you but your awareness. It's not about slowing down for the sake of slowing down. It's about remembering that the divine never asked you to race, that the soul never signed up for burnout, that your essence has always known the truth. Peace is not at the end of achievement, it's in the stillness behind it. This stillness is not passive, it's not doing nothing. It is the highest act of power to be so rooted in your own presence that the world cannot pull you into its storm. To walk with still feet and an open heart. To move from a place of being, not proving. And from that place you begin to see clearly again. You see that every moment you rushed through was a missed appointment with the sacred. That every time you chose urgency over presence, you left a part of yourself behind. But you don't need to grieve that now. You just need to come back. Come back to your breath. Come back to this moment. Come back to yourself. Because this is what aliveness feels like. Not complicated, not distant, just here. The feeling of your bare feet on the floor. The warmth of light on your skin. The sound of your own laughter. The gentle awareness that nothing needs to be added because everything you've been chasing is already inside you, waiting for permission to rise. You do not have to sacrifice your soul to succeed. You do not have to dim your joy to be accepted. You do not have to stay busy to be valuable. The real success is presence. The real wealth is peace. The real freedom is choosing to live on your own terms. Slow, awake, whole. And in this moment, this breath, this sacred return you choose to stop measuring your life in output and begin measuring it in depth. You choose to let go of who you were trained to be and become who you were born to be. You choose to no longer trade your aliveness for approval. You choose to stop, to feel, to be, to live. Because just because you're busy doesn't mean you're alive. But now that you've remembered, you are fully, finally, gloriously alive. My dear, wonderful friends, tonight I shall share with you the most powerful secret in all of creation. How to speak to yourself in a way that will completely transform your world in just 3 days. Not in 3 months, not in 3 years, but in 3 days. For you see, the power of your inner conversation is absolute, and it is the only true creative power in the universe. Now, when I tell you to talk to yourself, I am not speaking of the idle chatter that most engage in throughout their day. I speak of that inner conversation that is deliberate, conscious, and aligned with your desired state. For your inner conversation is your consciousness externalized, and your consciousness is God. Consider the words of Scripture. In the beginning was the Word. These words are not speaking of some external deity's utterance. They speak of your inner word, your inner conversation. For you are the operant power, and your inner conversation is the word that creates all things. Many of you come to me asking, Wayne, how long must I wait to see my desires manifest? And I tell you now, give yourself 3 days of proper inner conversation, and you will see your world begin to transform. For 3 is the number of completion in Scripture. And when you maintain the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you set in motion forces beyond your current understanding. Let me share with you exactly how to conduct this inner conversation. First, you must understand that your inner conversation must be from the end. You do not speak of what you want to be true. You speak as though what you desire is already true. This is the great secret that most of the world has missed. When you wake, In the morning of your first day, your inner conversation must be from the state of your wish fulfilled. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation must be that of a wealthy person. If you desire health, your inner conversation must be that of a healthy person. If you desire love, your inner conversation must be that of someone who is deeply loved. But then this is crucial. Your inner conversation must feel natural. It must not be strained or forced, for feeling is the secret. And your inner conversation must be accompanied by the feeling of naturalness. Let me give you a perfect example from Scripture. When David spoke to Goliath, his inner conversation was not, I hope I can win or I will try my best. His inner conversation was from the state of victory already achieved. This is why he could say with complete conviction, this day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand. Now for these 3 days, you must guard your inner conversation as though your life depends upon it. Because it does. Every time you catch yourself engaging in inner conversation that contradicts your desired state, you must immediately revise it. This is not a suggestion. This is a command if you wish to see your world transform. Consider this. Every outer conversation you have is first an inner conversation. Every relationship you have is first an inner conversation. Every circumstance in your life is first an inner conversation. Therefore, by changing your inner conversation for just 3 days, you literally change the entire substance from which your world is created. Let me tell you how to structure your inner conversation throughout these 3 days. In the morning, your first inner words must be from the state of your wish fulfilled before you open your eyes, before you move a muscle. Engage in the inner conversation of the person you wish to be. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation might be, I am so grateful for my abundant life. Money flows to me easily and continuously. I am surrounded by prosperity. But remember, these words must not be mere affirmations. They must be spoken with the feeling of knowing that they are already true. Throughout your day, your inner conversation must maintain the same level of conviction. When challenges arise, and they will arise, your inner conversation must remain steadfast. If someone speaks of lack, your inner conversation must be of abundance. If someone speaks of illness, your inner conversation must be of health. This is where most fail in their attempt to change their world. They allow their inner conversation to be pulled into the current circumstances rather than maintaining the conversation of their desired state. But I tell you now, circumstances have no power over your inner conversation unless you give them that power. For these 3 days, you must be relentless in maintaining your new inner conversation. When you walk down the street, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. When you eat your meals, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. When you prepare for sleep, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. Let me share with you a principle that I have tested and proven countless times. Your inner conversation is the only reality. Everything else, absolutely everything, is a shadow of your inner conversation pushed out. Therefore, when you maintain the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you literally create a new world. Many of you may be thinking, but Wayne, 3 days seems too short a time to change my entire world. Let me remind you of the story of Jonah. How long was he in the belly of the whale? 3 days. And after 3 days, he was transformed, and his world was transformed. This is not coincidence, my dear friends. This is law. 3 days of proper inner conversation is all that is required to set in motion the forces that will transform your world. But these must be 3 complete days, not 3 days of wavering between states. During these 3 days, you must guard your inner conversation, not just in your waking hours, but as you fall asleep. For the last inner conversation you have before sleep is particularly powerful. It continues to echo through your subconscious mind throughout your sleep. Therefore, as you prepare for sleep during these 3 days, your inner conversation must be perfectly aligned with your desired state. If you desire a successful business, your inner conversation might be, I am so grateful for my thriving business. My customers are delighted with our services. Profits increase continuously. But remember, and this is crucial, your inner conversation must be accompanied by the feeling of naturalness. It must feel as natural to have this conversation as it feels to speak of what you had for breakfast. This is where the power lies, not in the words themselves, but in the feeling of naturalness that accompanies them. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your outer conversations. Therefore, during these 3 days, you must be particularly vigilant about your outer conversations as well. They must align with your new inner conversation. If someone asks you how you are, your response must come from your desired state. If someone speaks to you about problems or difficulties, your response must come from your desired state. Your outer conversation must be a perfect reflection of your new inner conversation. Many of you may find this challenging at first. You may be tempted to engage in conversations about current circumstances rather than your desired state. But I tell you now, this is where your power lies in maintaining your new conversation, regardless of appearances. Consider the story of Jesus walking on water. What was his inner conversation? Was it about the impossibility of walking on water? Was it about the danger of the storms? No, his inner conversation was from the state of mastery over all natural laws, and his outer world had to conform to this inner conversation. During these 3 days, you must maintain the same level of conviction in your inner conversation. You must speak to yourself as though your desired state is already your reality, not as though it will be, not as though it might be, but as though it is. Let me share with you how to handle doubts when they arise during these 3 days, and they will arise. When a doubt appears in your mind, do not fight it. Instead, immediately revise your inner conversation. If you catch yourself saying inwardly, this isn't working, immediately revise it too. Everything is working perfectly. My world is transforming now. This revision must be immediate and complete. You cannot allow doubt to linger in your inner conversation. For remember, your inner conversation is the only reality. Therefore, a doubting inner conversation will create a doubting outer reality. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be dominated by gratitude. Not gratitude for what you hope will come, but gratitude for what is already yours in your desired state. This gratitude must be part of your inner conversation throughout the day. When you wake in the morning, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. When you go about your daily activities, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. When you prepare for sleep, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your inner states, and your inner states create your outer world. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of your wish fulfilled. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of wealth. Consciousness. If you desire health, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of health. Consciousness. If you desire love, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of being loved. Many of you may be wondering what to do if you slip in your inner conversation during these 3 days. Let me be very clear. You must not condemn yourself. Instead, immediately revise the conversation. Remember, you are training yourself to maintain a new inner conversation. And like any training, it requires practice. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your primary focus. Every other activity must be secondary to maintaining your new inner conversation. For you are literally recreating your world through this conversation. Let me share with you how to structure your inner conversation for specific desires If you desire a new home, your inner conversation might be, I love living in my beautiful new home. Everything about it is perfect for me. If you desire a promotion, your inner conversation might be, I am so grateful for my new position. It's everything I desired and more. But remember, these are not mere words. They must be accompanied by the feeling of living in that new home, the feeling of working in that new position. Fulfilling is the secret, and your inner conversation must generate the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be specific. Vague inner conversation creates vague results. Therefore, speak to yourself with clarity about your desired state. Be specific in your inner conversation about what you are grateful for, what you are experiencing, what you are enjoying in your desired state. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates self-concept, and your self-concept creates your world. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about who you are, not just what you have. If you desire success, your inner conversation must be about being a successful person, not just about having success. If you desire abundance, your inner conversation must be about being an abundant person, not just about having money. If you desire love, your inner conversation must be about being a loved person, not just about having a relationship. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be continuous, not in the sense of constant chatter, but in the sense of consistent alignment with your desired state. Every time you become aware of your inner conversation, it must be from your desired state. Let me share with you how to maintain this continuity. Set reminders for yourself throughout the day. Every time you look at your watch, every time you eat a meal, every time you enter a room, let these be triggers to check your inner conversation. But remember, your inner conversation must not be mechanical. It must be aligned with feeling rich with the emotion of your desired state. For it is the feeling that gives power to your inner conversation. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be sovereign. You must not allow anyone or anything to dictate your inner conversation. Not circumstances, not other people's opinions, not past experiences. Nothing must have power over your inner conversation except you. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your expectations, and your expectations create your experience. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must create the highest expectations of good for yourself. Many of you may be thinking, but Wayne, what if my desired state seems impossible? Let me remind you, nothing is impossible. To your inner conversation. Your inner conversation is God in action, and to God, all things are possible. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about possibility, not probability. You must speak to yourself from the state of your wish fulfilled, regardless of how probable or improbable may seem to your rational mind. Let me share with you how to handle apparent failures during these 3 days. If something happens that seems to contradict your desired state, your inner conversation must remain unchanged. You must speak to yourself as though the seeming failure is actually part of the perfect unfolding of your desire. Remember, your inner conversation is creating your reality, not the other way around. Therefore, no external circumstance has the power to change your inner conversation unless you give it that power. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your constant companion. It must be the lens through which you view every experience, the filter through which you interpret every event, the standard by which you measure every circumstance. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates a belief system, and your belief system creates your reality. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must consistently reinforce the beliefs that support your desired state. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be a perfect reflection of the person you wish to be. You must speak to yourself as that person would speak. Think as that person would think. Feel as that person would feel. Let me share with you how to maintain this level of consciousness. When you catch yourself speaking from your old state, immediately ask yourself, how would I be speaking to myself if I were already the person I wish to be? Then revise your inner conversation accordingly. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about what is not, what was, or what might be. You must speak to yourself in the present tense from the state of your wish fulfilled. This is crucial for the manifestation of your desire. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates future, but it does so by creating your present. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must make your desired future your present reality. Many of you may be wondering what will happen after these 3 days. Let me tell you, if you have maintained the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you will have set in motion forces that must result in the manifestation of your desire. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your primary tool for creation. Every other method, every other technique, every other approach must be secondary to maintaining your new inner conversation. Let me share with you how to know if your inner conversation is correct. If it feels natural, if it feels real, if it feels true, even in the face of contrary evidence, then your inner conversation is correct. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be protected like a precious jewel. You must guard it against doubt, against fear, against negativity. For your inner conversation is the very substance from which your world is created. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates a relationship with yourself, and your relationship with yourself creates all other relationships. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must reflect the highest, most loving relationship with yourself. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your sacred practice. You must treat it with the same reverence that a priest treats his prayers, that a scientist treats his experiments, that an artist treats his creations. Let me share with you how to maintain this level of devotion. See your inner conversation as your direct connection to the creative power of the universe. For that is exactly what it is, your consciousness in action creating your world. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your constant reminder of who you really are, the operant power in your world, the creator of reality, the God of your uniqueness. And that, my dear friends, is how you must talk to yourself for 3 days if you wish to transform your world. Not sometimes, not occasionally, but consistently, continuously, constantly. For your inner conversation is the Word of God in action, and it cannot return void. Remember this, your world is your inner conversation pushed out. Therefore, guard your inner conversation for these 3 days as though your life depends upon it, because it does. So what will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue with your old inner conversation, creating the same results you've always created? Or will you begin today, this moment, to maintain a new inner conversation that must create a new world? The choice is yours, but the law is absolute. Your inner conversation creates your reality. Therefore, speak to yourself for 3 days as though your desires are already fulfilled, and watch your world transform. That's the message I want to leave you tonight. Not because it's easy, but because it's true. Not because it's simple, but because it's powerful. Not because it's what you expected to hear, but because it's what you needed to hear. Remember, 3 days of proper inner conversation will transform your world every single time. And isn't that worth thinking about?